everybody, and welcome to another, can't believe it, exciting episode of Boston Sports Nuts. The numbers are too large to tell you how much it's sweeping the nation right now, but if you're not clicking on and liking something and following something, you're missing out. I'm Ken Berman, joined by Jim Russo and Paul Izzo. Hi, guys.
Hey,
Let's
Ken.
go, Ken.
Lots of stuff to talk about. A little excitement thrown into the NBA last night, so I'm going to start with that. Thibodeau, coach of the Knicks, out. He only made it to the sixth game of the Eastern Conference Finals, right? So that's nothing that good. So you can see why you would fire him. The Knicks haven't been this far in 25 years. They haven't won the championship since 1973. He won since he's coached in the last couple of years, he's won 4 playoff series. The 13 previous coaches before him won 1. Okay? And this is the guy they fire. I found it shocking. I thought he did a great job with that team.
I got 2 reactions.
2.
Great to be here with you guys today, 2. And I am the least NBA fan here, and I'm a huge fan. You guys are obsessed. Okay,
you're close.
I'm getting there. I'm trying to catch up to you guys.
If you can stay up with Debbie,
But
Sports Nuts Izzo.
I had 2 reactions when I heard the news, and none of them had anything to do with whether or not I thought this was the right thing to do or not. Number 1 is only the NBA would announce a firing of this magnitude on the eve of the championship series. So I smell a rat. I think that interest in the NBA is down right now. I think they have a concern about how engaged the public is in a Pacers-OKC series. The NBA is back as the lead story in every sports page in America. I'm not saying the NBA orchestrated the firing of Tom Thibodeau. What I'm saying is that only the NBA would let it happen, because if Roger Goodell found out that Bill Belichick was going to get fired the night before Super Bowl press day, which is today, by the way. Right. Today's the press day.
Yep.
With the day we're filming this for the NBA Finals, he would say, Bob, you're not doing that, okay? You're not firing Bill Belichick the day before everybody's going to be talking to our players about this 7-game series. My second reaction to it is, it's not news. It's not news. The NBA has been firing successful coaches for 6 years. We got this sent around to us yesterday. Between 2018 and 2023, every coach of the year has since been fired. Dwayne Casey, Mike Budenholzer, Nick Nurse, now Tom Thibodeau, Monty Williams, and Mike Brown. They all been fired. The NBA is churning through these guys like nothing. And when I heard Tom Thibodeau got fired, I was not nearly as surprised as all the national media. That's my reaction.
Okay, a couple of things. The Knicks do not do press, which is amazing. So we'll have press day at the NBA Finals, and no one from the Knicks will be comped. They don't do what Brad Stevens does at the end of the year. Leon Rose will not be meeting the media. So it's a shame because they won't stand up. Second thing, I know who sent that. He's a very knowledgeable basketball fan, but this is different. And I'll tell you why. You can go through those, and I can tell you the reason they were fired. Okay? Monty Williams, you can go through them.
Right, Pistons were horrible.
Yes. There are 2 reasons in the NBA coaches get fired. This is not the NFL, okay? 2 reasons. 1 is results. Tibbs had great results. The second reason, which is why it's different than the NFL, is they don't get along with their star player. That's a reason for some of those firings, okay? Brunson likes Tibbs. He gave him an endorsement after the finals. Brunson's father is close to Tibbs.
Head assistant coach, right?
I think he is. He's one of them.
One of them.
Right? So this is why this is different. You cited all the Knicks. All Tibbs did was turn that franchise around. This is why Frank Isola of the starting lineup with Scal was right 2 days ago when Scal said, there's no way that can happen. And Isola said something like, wait a minute, throw reason and logic out the window. This isn't your Boston Celtics. This is the Knicks. Now, we had a great debate by the 2 hosts of the greatest sports talk show of all time, Mike and the Mad Dog, Inadvertent, where Mike is over there on his podcast. Oh, it's got nothing to do with Dolan. It's Leon Rose. Leon Rose is Tibbs' agent. He was his agent. He brought him here.
Right.
He gave him a 3-year extension last year. Okay? People in that organization, this is what I saw, do not like Tibbs. Dolan, who his track record, you said it. I won't repeat it.
Yeah.
Okay? And he bought it. And he fired Tibbs, probably. Okay?
I agree with that Dolan is behind this, and Dolan is just, he doesn't know what he's
So
doing.
the results don't matter. So just let's talk about this year. The goalpost kept moving for this guy. If he doesn't beat the Pistons, he's gone. Well, he beat the Pistons. Oh, if he doesn't play well against the Celtics, he's gone. Well, he had 2 20-point comebacks against the Celtics, right? He wins the series. Now, Frank said he heard some rumblings after they lost Game 3. They were up 2-1. All right? Okay.
Now, that would have been news.
They beat the Celtics. They don't beat the Pacers, who a lot of people think have the better team. Okay? And another thing, all this talk about, and Chris Russo, I think, accurately calls it the minutes police. Well, the Knicks were perfectly healthy going into the playoffs. Okay? Not only that, they beat the Celtics. Okay? They beat them. Were the Knicks worn out in those fourth quarters when they dominated the Celtics? Boy, does it pain me to say that. Probably pains you guys to hear it, but it's true. Were they worn out? And then Kevin Lockery made an interesting point. In the finals, after the first 2 games, he started playing his bench. That was totally unlike him. He doesn't think he should have done it, but my only theory on that is the Pacers play so fast. Maybe he felt he needed. But I just think this is just not good. And it's true those coaches have been fired, but I respectfully say this is different. This is different.
I think they made a mistake. I think they made a mistake firing him. I think he's and one thing, can Brad Stevens call him up and say, hey, can you sort of sit next to our guy and maybe do the defensive thing again?
Well, he could do the Jeff Van Gundy role.
And do the Jeff Van Gundy. I would love Tibbs back on the Celtics coaching.
I don't think he'd be an assistant. He's come too far. But he could be that elevated Jeff Van Gundy thing.
Love to have him
And
here.
look what's happening now, as I saw. I want to give credit. These aren't all mine. But as he's pointing out, okay, when results don't matter to people that want a guy gone, what do? Okay? Minutes, too many minutes. Well, that was proven, forget it, because the results turned out. So now they have to shift, okay? Now it was not developing the roles. The roles? They won. Did anyone say their roles weren't defined when they beat the Celtics? No.
They were playing great basketball.
Did they say that about Rick Carlisle last year when he got swept? Did they say that about Eric Spoelstra, who got beat by 35 points this year? Who, by the way, in the last 6 years has not done that. I mean, won finals?
Right.
He doesn't play the right player. Steve Kerr benched Jonathan Kuminga and then brought him back when Curry got hurt, and he played well.
Well, you make some good points, but you haven't convinced me that this is materially different than the entire other group.
Well, read them down. I'll give you the difference. Go ahead.
You can do it. You have the list.
No, I don't.
Well, I'll send it to you.
I got it on my phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, can I just another point about all this?
Yeah.
It's really big news.
Yes.
Okay, and I smell a rat. Like
you do.
It was literally 2 hours on First Take yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
With Stephen A. It was all over the NBA radio. It's all over Mad Dog Russo. It's all over ESPN Radio. It is a largely PR-driven move in 2 respects. Number one, I think that Dolan felt, I'm speculating, pure speculation alert, that Dolan felt that he needed a scapegoat for losing that series. Because I think you can make a case that this was an opportunity for the Knicks to get to the finals. Think about it. The Cavaliers were out of their way. They were the undisputed number 1 seed, the favorite to reach the finals. The much-hated Boston Celtics were out of their way. Mm-hmm. The team that was in their way was a team where the Knicks would have had the home court advantage.
They did have home court.
Okay,
They had home court advantage.
That was
one
the
game.
only. That was right, but that was the team they would have had the home court advantage.
Right.
And I think ownership felt that it was a lost opportunity because next year, if Tatum comes back healthy at the end, if Cleveland figures it out and they have all their healthy guys back, it's not any it's not a sure thing that the Knicks can get there. Plus, the Knicks, in order to get Cat, traded away a lot of capital to get him. It's not so easy for them now to acquire a Giannis. I just think that a lot of this was PR driven by both the Knicks and the NBA.
Well, let's take this whole thing about the Pacers. Okay, if the Knick fan who is a bigger Giant fan than he is a Knick fan, or she's a Knick fan and doesn't follow the NBA, which I don't blame him, do whatever you want. I've always said I'm one of 5, now 6 with Mrs. Sports Nuts, that thinks the NBA is a better league than the NFL. I get it. I'm a minority. But since January 1, who's the undisputed 2 best teams in basketball, which you have pointed out on several occasions, because I watch our show. And it's been a very, very good point. You were on the Pacers. Early. You predicted them over Cleveland, by the way. I give you credit.
I'll take credit.
Credit.
You should.
Thank you.
Paul
You
Izzo,
should, because
credit.
we,
Wait a minute,
we didn't.
Paul Izzo checkmark on
Yes,
the credit.
he
Okay.
did. We
I'm
all
gonna dig that out and replay it.
Yeah, we all predicted them. We all predicted them over the Knicks. Okay,
Yes.
Since January 1, the undisputed 2 best teams in basketball have been the Pacers and OKC.
Right.
Okay, the Pacers are the best team in the Eastern Conference. The second thing, there is one theory that makes sense as to why it's now, is Johnny Bryant, assistant head coach or whatever they call him for Cleveland. He's coached before. He did this for Tibbs. The Knicks want him, and he's one of 2 finalists apparently for the Phoenix
Mike
job.
Malone, the other one?
No, he's 2 finalists for the Phoenix,
Phoenix
job.
job, okay.
And they don't want to lose him. So if we see Johnny Bryant tomorrow wheeled out as the Knicks coach, that would sort of make sense. Other than that, I really think this is Dolan. Dolan doesn't like Tibbs. It might be PR because Dolan probably cares about the PR more than Leon Rose. All right? He knows the basketball. You know,
I think he likes his team getting
yeah.
all the press.
Yes, I do.
That's what Dolan likes.
And I have no idea how much he knows about basketball, but Dog had a great line yesterday, Mad Dog Russo. He wouldn't know George Mikan, right? Who he
When
was.
I heard that, I chuckled because
I
a
just
lot of
laughed.
people don't know George
Exactly.
Mikan.
Right.
But when you own
That's
the
who he
Knicks,
picked, George Mikan.
he picked George Mikan.
One
But
thing if
anyway,
he said Wilt Chamberlain. but-
Right.
So-
or Michael Jordan or something like
yeah.
that.
So I mean, but his track record isn't good.
Yeah.
And I just think, yeah, maybe he just said, look, most of my fans want him going.
All right, we'll get back to Tibbs once they do hire somebody in the Knicks.
On to the series.
Yeah, the Pacers-Knicks series. Just a quick recap because it's over. We're moving on and all that. But we all predicted the Pacers.
We did.
They are the better team. As Jim pointed out just a second ago, the pace the Pacers play at is great. They push the ball up the court. They force you into bad defensive situations. And I'm going to say the 2 best players of the Pacers are better than the 2 best players of the Knicks. Halliburton and Siakam, to me, are better than Brunson and Towns, and for one main reason, defense. Brunson and Towns are horrible defensive players.
Okay, I think the Pacers are a team that is better in reality than on paper. If you look at them on paper, OKC is a clear favorite.
Yes.
OKC, I didn't realize this. Their margin of victory this year of almost 13 points is the best in the history of the league.
Yes. Yep.
That's remarkable. They were the best defensive team by far. They've been the best defensive team in the postseason. Indiana, defensive rating, middle of the pack in the regular season, middle of the pack in the playoffs.
Yep.
OKC plays great offense too, so the Pacers are going to give them. They're going to give the Pacers all they can handle. When they played during the regular season, the Pacers lost by 6 at home, lost by almost 20 on the road. So you look at that and you say, I got to, if I'm laying money down, I'm going to go with OKC. I'm going to pick OKC, but I got to say, I think it's going to be a series. I think Rick Carlisle's got something up his sleeve. I think the Pacers have momentum in the sense that they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. You know me, I love the ladder.
Yeah, we like the ladder.
They've gotten over the hump. OKC's never been in the finals before as this group. I think it's going to be a series, but I think OKC wins in 6 games.
Yeah, as far as the prior series in your observation, yeah, that is the Towns-Brunson weakness, which is defense, which, again, back to your first topic, that's something Tibbs has had to work around. Not to mention, by the way, in Game 1, both OG and Towns missed key free throws, and Halliburton had an even luckier shot than Don Nelson.
Yes, he did.
Not taking nothing away from
Loved
Halliburton.
it,
He's great.
but
I,
lucky.
But I agree. Overall, all-around players, yeah, I think you're right. They're better. But Halliburton's also a better passer than Brunson.
Yeah, way better.
Yeah.
Better defensive player.
Taking nothing away from
bigger.
Brunson. As far as the finals, I've always said this about NBA finals that the Celtics aren't in. I try to look at what's good for basketball. Like, I really regretted that Phoenix didn't win because it would have changed the game earlier than the game got changed. The Pacers, if they were to win, sports being copycat leagues, has the potential to make a lot of teams change. They play different than any other NBA basketball team. It's fun to watch.
Yep.
They run after made baskets. They really killed the Knicks on running after made baskets.
Unbelievable.
This is what they're going to try to – they are going to try to avoid OKC's set defense.
Right.
Tommy Heinsohn would love this team,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They run. Wouldn't surprise me if Mark Dagnall, who's also a good coach, okay, if he picks up full court,
By the way, Leominster High School grad.
to try to stop this, to get them to play against his defense. Having said that, Paul has some great stats about OKC. I can't see the Pacers pulling this off, but I do agree. I don't agree with Kevin Locker. He doesn't think it's close. I think it's going to be close. I'm going to say the same thing as Paul, which doesn't leave much room for debate. I'm going to say OKC in
Well, I'll
6.
debate it a little bit.
Okay,
Because
go.
I think OKC is going to win Game 5 at home to wrap up the series. Pacers will win 1 at home. And I just think OKC is just better. They're tougher, they're stronger, they're better. And they're very athletic. And SGA and Halliburton is a great matchup. But that gives OKC a little edge over him, as where he had an edge over.
I agree.
Brunson.
Shea is a little bit better.
Yeah, and he's a great defensive
He's a
player
great
too.
defensive player.
So I think it's OKC
And one more-
in 5.
Yeah, one more reason I like OKC. I said it from the first day we started covering the NBA playoffs on this show. I picked them to win it because of the change in the rule, the change in the officiating.
they're
By the way,
very handsy.
They are going to bully Halliburton.
Yeah,
and we'll see.
And
what
they're
the
going to
refs-
bully Siakam like Jaylen Brown did in the bubble.
Yeah, Alex Caruso will guard one of those guys, and let's see how what the refs let him get away with.
Right. That's. I
That's
hope I hope it goes longer. I want a 7th game.
I do too. I mean, I'm a fan, but I think
want
they're
a
going to
7th
win.
game, but-
Well, 4-game sweeps are very rare. I think they've been
Right.
less than 10 in 75 years.
Oh, all right.
5 games, gentlemen sweeps have been more common.
Right.
You can make a case that it should be a sweep. That's how dominant the statistical
Right.
delta is.
You could.
How big the delta is. But Pacers are too good to lose that many games in
I
a
agree.
short amount of time. Remember, Oklahoma, they didn't go undefeated this year. They lost 18 games or more. Okay.
Well, 68 regular season wins.
Yeah, and then they lost postseason games.
Yeah, they went 7 with Denver.
Right.
Oh, they're a
Right.
dominant team.
They're a dominant team, but
But they've lost.
they've lost.
Yeah.
I think Indiana's too good to
Yeah,
get
and
beaten.
they've
by
been,
games.
again, since January 1st, this has been a great
We talk about
team.
playoffs off. The Knicks blew out the Pacers in Game 5, right?
Yeah.
And they just like 48 points at
Yeah.
whatever. So
which is another problem we've talked about.
Yeah.
Speaking
Yeah.
of this, we'll talk about this much more detail as next
I have
season
one
gets
more.
going. But when I say change the game, with Jason Tatum injured, this is a chance for the Celtics to maybe put in a different kind of offense without that great ISO player. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, one last quick question.
Yep.
Watching Halliburton and Siakam play, you know how we always talk about it, like almost every NBA team has a couple of great players? Like we think we have Brown and Tatum, who are way better than everybody
Right.
else. Halliburton, Siakam versus a healthy Tatum and Brown,
I think Tatum and Brown are just a notch above those two.
a notch above.
And I'll tell you why. Their pedigree, what they've accomplished.
Okay.
I mean, they've accomplished more than those two guys have, and they're at their peak age. Now, taking Tatum's injury out of the equation.
Right.
Well, I think it's a little early. I say Tatum and Brown, but remember, Siakam and Halliburton have only played together for a
2 years.
year, less than that.
Oh,
He was
less.
traded at the deadline, wasn't he?
The year before?
Siakam has
Yeah.
an NBA championship with Kawhi Leonard.
Right.
But I take Tatum and Brown too because they're both really good defensive players. Tatum's rebounding is much better than either one of them.
Right.
So
I take
healthy
Tatum and
Tatum.
Brown too by a little bit. I think the point I'm trying to make is that it's so close in the
I
NBA.
agree.
Oh, we always want to think our players are the best.
But it's so close in
I agree
so
with that.
many
It's
teams.
close.
Listen, we just finished, Brunson and Towns and Halliburton and Siakam, and
Yeah.
there's Tatum and Brown, and there's, every team, Okay, so anyway, that was my question. Okay,
Oh, I agree.
okay. Producer chimed in 15 minutes.
Beautiful.
All right.
I'm moving on to the Boston Red Sox. Really playing some good ball. I think you guys agree. When does the YD League start?
June 14th at Brewster.
Yeah.
All right,
Home
Brewster-
game June 15th. Good seats still available.
Yeah.
That's Father's Day.
Orleans.
Dennis Yarmouth. Well, there'll be a lot of fathers there. In fact,
Yeah, they will.
we invite all the fathers out onto the field to throw first
a few
pitch to
things
their
we've
kids.
thrown out before. I'll just reiterate. They just recently lost their 17th one-run game out of like 60 games. That's almost impossible. They're 5 games under 500 now. They tied in the majors for most errors, I believe. They have the most blown saves in the league. My question to you, gentlemen, what can you do at this point?
Well, the Red Sox don't. This particular Red Sox group does not know how to win games. You take, for example, the maddening number of times that we have not scored a run with the ghost runner on second.
Right.
Oh,
Okay, you give up the ghost runner in the top of the 10th. That's probably going to happen most of the time because the away team is going to scratch, claw, commit Harry
might even
carry,
bunt.
right, to get that runner in so that they don't automatically lose in the bottom of the 10th.
Right.
So inevitably they score. The Red Sox consistently don't get that guy home. Last night, they get the ghost runner on in the 10th. They're down by one run. The first guy strikes out.
why didn't
the
he
second
bunt,
guy,
though?
What am I, Alex Cora? I don't know why he doesn't bunt.
That's what I don't understand.
Why doesn't he hit a ground ball to second? Maybe the guy makes an error. Get your bat on the ball.
No,
They
that's
don't.
wrong.
They don't seem to change their hitting approach.
Never.
In situations.
They
First
like
guy
striking out
strikes
a lot.
out. Second guy Story strikes out. Third guy Raphael there.
Wait a minute.
Pops up.
Trevor Story struck out?
Yeah. And so I see bad
for me to believe.
situational hitting. I see defensive mistakes all over the place. Bullpen collapses and a lack of leadership. Guys, I've been saying it all winter. Where's the Poppy? Where's the Jim Rice? Where's the Yaz? Where's the Clemens? Where's the Pedro? Where's the somebody?
I guess it was going to be Bregman, and he's out.
He just got here.
I don't know.
But
Yeah.
you're also talking about Hall of Famers. They don't have one.
Well, you can have a leader, Jim. A Kyle Schwarber, who they gave up.
He wasn't really the leader of the team.
But he would have been by
inspired them.
now.
He would have been the leader of this team.
Oh, who they didn't keep? Oh yeah, I agree 100%. I didn't realize you. Were
I just
talking
don't
about
know, like, it's June, whatever, first week of June. As a manager, what can you do now?
Well,
let me go, Jim. Baseball is not basketball and football.
Right.
You can't say to baseball, do a different strategy.
Correct.
Do a different formation. Distribute the ball more. Run more. Pass more. Baseball is about production at the plate, making the plays in the field, and pitching well. It's been that way since I started following the game 60 years ago. And Jim and I work for a baseball team, a very serious team. And we sit there and we watch the games. And how many times have we said on the deck, we didn't make the pitches. We didn't make the plays. We got thrown out on the bases. That's why we lost tonight. Or vice versa. We won because we made the big catches. We hit the ball. They're not doing that. So when we say, what can Alex Cora do? I don't know.
So my question
They
is,
don't have the players.
can a manager at this point in the season say, guys, we're going on the practice field an incredible amount of time to clean
When?
up this stuff?
when would they do that?
I first thing in the morning. I don't know.
Ken,
You
you can't take players from their routine like that at this point. That's what
don't they
want
to get better? Don't they
Yeah,
want to make
look,
less
look,
errors?
look. The defense should be much better, okay? They should have one of the best outfields in baseball on defense right now. They had Alex Bregman at third. They had Trevor Story at short, okay? But they make, like Cora said after last night's game, I mean, I watched Raffaella, who's a phenomenal defensive center fielder, throw the ball to the backstop 15 feet up the line.
I saw
By the
that.
way, Brian Bayo was backing up.
Yeah.
But there's no way he could get to that ball.
No.
It was so off. And
terrible.
it was doubtful that he could get him anyway. So it's things like that, throwing to the wrong base. These are things that in all honesty, they should know when they get to the
My
majors.
high school coach taught me that.
I know that. They should know when they get to the majors.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
The major leagues is not for, hey, with a guy on second, you do this. They should know that. Because the
should.
majors can go over that. Spring training is like a refresher course for that. But during the season, you're playing 162 games. You got maybe one day off a week. I mean, that's a grind. It's really a grind. The Red Sox, I think, have been, I don't want to say the victims, of some very poor management decisions. They have not, it's becoming clear that they just have no plan for these prospects that they really like, and they've done things, in my opinion, to stymie their growth. For instance, like I said last week when I went off a little bit, guys are coming up not playing the positions that they play.
Right.
Okay? So
I don't get that either.
Christian Campbell is Exhibit 1. He's mostly been an outfielder.
You're talking about should he go back down to the minor leagues?
Right.
for a
He has
refresher?
not played well at second base. That's a weakness on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Marcelo Maya has come up and played third, and last night he didn't play because the guy that used to play first is hitting. He's gone over to third because Romy Gonzalez is back. By the way, Romy Gonzalez hit cleanup. Any of these guys, Manny, David, Stars? No. They're rotating these guys all around.
Wait a minute. No, I have a serious. Romy Gonzalez?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh, Ken.
He
probably,
played last year.
Yeah, he's a really, really rising star in their system.
He played last year, okay? So these guys are playing out of position. There's been some bad financial decisions. Trevor Story is clearly holding back Meyer from playing the position he should play. And I don't know how they get out of it, really. There was hope for this year, but I watched last night and turned it off at 2.5 innings.
Yeah, it's just
it's
so
bad
disappointing to
baseball.
me.
It's really bad baseball.
I'm telling you, I would find time. I don't care what anybody says to me. I don't care about their routine. I don't care about how much money they get paid. I am finding time before games, after games, in between games, that we're going on the practice field just like I did in high school, and we're going to practice cutoffs. We're going to practice throws. I'm hitting you more grounders. I'm doing
a lot
all
of those
that.
guys take the grounders.
By the way, they
all do
you're
that.
acting like they don't do that.
They
I
do
don't think
that.
they do it.
No, they do.
Sure
they
they do.
When they're home,
Yeah.
they go there 5-6 hours
Yeah,
before the game and
absolutely.
do IO, infield, outfield, for hours.
Oh, yeah.
And they go to the hitting cages. They have video. They do.
Then I don't get it.
well,
Then-
How about they're not that good?
yeah.
Well,
This
I'll
is
go with
what
that.
mediocre teams do.
Yeah.
This is what, if you're a fan of, say, the Kansas City Royals most of the time, maybe not this year, maybe not 8 years ago, but this is what you always see.
yeah.
Okay, we've been blessed from '67 to 2021. We almost always had a good team. Now we've had a almost exactly 500 team since opening day of 22.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, the bottom line on any pro sports team that wants to win consistently is you have to satisfy the first and most important criteria, which is talent. So look at the starting lineup. Go back to the old-fashioned stat. Look at their batting averages.
Okay. Well, we
220,
talked about this before.
240, 230.
They got to change this hitting approach they have of the upswing, whatever it's called, the drive line thing. They just strike out 12, 14 times
Well,
a game.
look. You can talk about approach all you want. These guys aren't gonna. These guys that can't hit, they can't hit. Okay?
Yeah, but they were able to hit to get to this point at some time in their life.
But so
I think
many.
that's a fair point,
So
Ken.
many of them. You don't think they hit that way before?
Well, I think when they get to our
guys,
organization, they're
listen.
changing.
No, they didn't have the. No, Jim.
Listen.
No, hold on.
No,
they
no,
didn't
this
have
is-
that consulting firm when they were in AAA and college.
Well, they
and
didn't
AA.
hit before they had the consulting firm last year. They're not good. I don't like the
Well, they had
consulting
part of that
firm either. I
consulting
don't like
firm.
somebody telling Jim Rice that he can't talk to a player. I don't like that either. And maybe if they switched, you get a ground ball to second. That's great. okay? That's fine. But when you guys talk about this strikeout thing, Jim Rice never faced a fastball 97 in the first inning unless he faced Nolan Ryan. Ted Williams faced guys that went 9 innings. You're talking about people that come in to this game in the 5th inning throwing 95 miles an hour and fresh. This has been a whole change in the game. That's why I kind of support your counter-revolution, okay? But you got to do it earlier.
Okay.
Because
I'll do it earlier.
what is
Agree with
happening
that.
to me, and I don't claim to be in it, what is happening is that revolution going from, for instance, you move your foot forward to a rotational type hitting. I hate to get too technical, but the rotational type hitting makes a lot more sense than the old-fashioned way because you're not splitting your body as much. Manny Ramirez only lifted his leg. He never strided forward.
Correct.
Albert Pujols was the classic rotational hitter. These guys hit. They were all good. Now with all these pitchers, and we see the increase in pitchers to injuries, what's happening to this game, you would think someone would say, all right, we don't want you to stop this. All we want you to do is when you know you're facing a guy with this speed, try a different approach. That's what I would like to see.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
But
take
I
a
don't
different
want them
approach.
to stop, just, go back to choking up and just.
Well, Jim, I have to say, you're right 100% that velocity is way up in pitching.
Right.
I've given this example a million times. When Mike Timlin would come in the 8th and he'd throw 94, and we'd all go, "Woo, he threw 94."
Right.
Well, now you got a guy
Right.
95 to 97 in the 5th
Or starting.
and
Yeah,
starting.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yes.
he's not the star.
Yeah.
Okay, he's throwing 98, 97.
I'll
And
agree
the
with
closer's
that.
throwing 100.
Yeah.
It's different. It makes a difference. But if your team is near the top of the league in strikeouts, that means you're striking out more than you probably should.
I agree. And what that means to me is, guys,
Okay.
you can't hit a fastball. If you don't change, you're going to be out of baseball.
Okay.
That's the way the game is
Yeah.
now. So I agree with you guys on that point. Guys that can't hit have to change.
They got to do something.
Well, the league-wide on-base percentage is shockingly low right now. It's around 312.
Is it really?
Yeah, it
League-wide?
was around 340, 350 for many years. On-base 311, seriously? You want me to pay to watch one out of every three out of every 10 guys get on base?
Right.
And it's not that the other 7 are great fielding plays. They're strikeouts.
Right.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
We got the 2-minute warning.
Don't be surprised if this keeps up, if you don't see something to what we saw after 1968, where they lowered the mound.
Lowered the
mound.
Don't be surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay, we only got a couple of minutes left. Are we rooting for Brad Marchand to win the Stanley Cup?
Well, it's an interesting point. The last time that a Bruin left Boston and won a cup with another team, a beloved Bruin,
Yeah.
it was the victory that then triggered an entire series of Boston victories.
Tom Brady, yep.
No, it was
No.
Ray
It
Bork.
triggered Tom Brady.
It triggered
he was
Tom
the
Brady.
First one. Yeah.
Exactly. So Ray Bork brings the cup back.
Right.
The city gives him permission to bring it to
I think
City
it was
Hall
2000,
Plaza.
wasn't it?
Right.
Then
He
Brady
brings
came.
it, and
Right.
boom, there's a stretch.
Yeah, that was
so
my
I'm
point.
all for
He
it. I'm
triggered
in.
Brady.
Okay.
I'm rooting for Marchand, and I'm bringing the cup to City Hall Plaza, and I'm doing the whole thing.
All over again.
I got mixed feelings. I'm rooting for Marchand. I mean, if he loses, this is 3 out of 4 finals he lost. But I love watching Edmonton play. Those two, McDavid is going to be one of the greatest players of all time, and Draisaitl's great. I love the way they play. I got mixed feelings, but yeah, I guess
It's kind of USA versus Canada in a
a
small
little
way.
bit.
In a
Yeah,
little bit of
sure.
way.
Florida.
Well, I'm in on Marchand too because I just liked him as a Bruin all these years, and I don't really.
Well, the
have any-
interesting thing too is what Gasper wrote. That Florida's they've knocked the Bruins out a couple of times.
Yeah, they have. They've been arrived. And so I'm going with Marchand. And the other thing is, I can't really root for Edmonton because my first cousin lives in Calgary, and they're huge rivals.
All right, good.
So, okay.
That's the best reason of all.
All right, that's all I got for
Good
this
show, fellas.
edition of
I
Sports.
thought we got a final word.
oh, yeah,
oh.
extra point.
My final word for the Joe Mazzulla people that don't like Joe Mazzulla. First 2 rules, which were violated with Tom Thibodeau. Okay?
Yeah.
Joe Mazzulla has incredible results as of this date. Joe Mazzulla's star player calls him the best coach in the league. He's not going anywhere until one of those 2 things changes. Okay? And I'm a Joe Mazzulla fan.
Big underreported story around here is that the Patriots defensive coordinator has been sick for over 2 months.
Yes.
And they're
yeah.
working, on Zoom with the assistants and making the best of it. But, we hope whatever's going on, they said it was pretty serious. Hope it's, he has a speedy recovery, but they really need him around. And, it's
There's
a
an
big
article
loss
in
for the
either
Patriots.
the Globe or Boston NBC Sports website today on the guy that's running it.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I'd love to know if KP Porzingis is doing better. And two, just a note, great player from our past for the Minnesota Vikings passed away, Jim Marshall.
Purple people
A
eaters.
purple people eater.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Boston Sports Nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching Boston Sports Nuts. You can find all of our episodes available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. For more information, go to westwoodmediacenter.tv or follow Boston Sports Nuts on Facebook, Instagram, and X.